evening, Mr. Richardson, members of the board, and Dr. James. Tonight's accent on academics will focus on word study. Word study is a student-centered instructional approach to phonics, spelling, and vocabulary instruction that actively engages the learner in constructing concepts about the way words work. Word study is a critical piece of literacy instruction because children use their knowledge of letters and sounds when they learn to read and write. Word study is the fourth phase of our current literacy model, which has been developed collaboratively over the past 4 years. To support effective implementation, the school division utilizes a train-the-trainer model for professional development, along with providing each school with appropriate resources. Tonight, Terry Ferre, Sarah Andrews, and Dara Libby, current instructional trainers, will share what word study looks like in the classroom. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Terry Ferre, Seaford Elementary's kindergarten teacher, who will talk to you about the basics of concept of word, which is a critical component of the emergent learner diet.
One critical component of daily instruction for the emergent learner is concept of word. This strategy helps students learn the difference between letters, words, and sentences. There is so much emphasis on concept of word because current literacy research shows that it serves as a valid and reliable predictor of first grade reading achievement. Concept of word is achieved by providing students with multiple exposures to a variety of texts and helping them distinguish between letters, words, and sentences. Daily instruction consists of pointing, word identification in context, word identification in isolation. All three strengthen the student's speech to print match while developing their alphabet knowledge, phonemic awareness, and knowledge of words in print. In order to effectively teach concept of word, teachers use a familiar nursery rhyme like Itsy Bitsy Spider or a memorized text. The teacher models pointing to words and gives students a lot of opportunities to practice. Once students are ready, they practice identifying words on a memorized text. The ultimate goal is for the students to be able to identify these words out of context or in isolation. The following video is a brief concept of word lesson with kindergarten students demonstrating the required steps they follow during a daily guided reading lesson. This video is from March, when many of my students are further along with their concept of word. While you watch the video, please note the students have become aware of word boundaries. In other words, they are aware of where the words begin and end. They are also able to read and match speech to print. Additionally, they recognize and count the words from a previously memorized text. Finally, the students are able to locate words and sentences because of the repeated interaction with these texts. Okay. What's that going? Sniffle, sniffle. A hedgehog. Go to sleep. Wait a minute before let's count and see how many words are in that sentence with the hedgehog. We haven't counted that one yet, so get your beans ready. Remember, we slide one bean for each word. Okay, touch the word. What? Everybody slide one. What's this one word, sweetie? Okay, that. Going. Sniffle. Sniffle. How many do you have, Stone?
5.
Okay, you have 5? And the word what's. What's. Good job. Oh, wow. You guys did that so quickly. Okay, that wasn't hard enough. Slide those off. Let's try a different word. What about the word going? Go is one of our words that we see all the time, but going is longer. And you guys already found that one too? Okay, slide them off. Once a student demonstrates a firm concept of word, they move from being an emergent learner to a beginning learner. Now, Sarah Andrews, first grade teacher at Mount Vernon, will share information about the instructional practices for that learner stage.
Typically, a first grade student is a beginning learner. As such, my instructional focus is on phonics. As a first grade teacher, I help my students understand the connection between the sounds that are heard and the letters that are seen in words. We practice rhyming and blending and segmenting sounds in order to develop their understanding of how words are put together. While the beginning learner has a specific instructional focus, as a teacher, I work to provide each student with a balanced literacy diet. With the knowledge that each learner has certain strengths and areas for growth in regards to literacy, I know that each learner requires different instruction. Through small group instruction, I can focus on what each student needs the most, or that student's balanced diet for literacy. Here is an example of a beginning learner's small group lesson plan and the types of instruction you would see in this 30-minute block of time. You will notice that we start each day with developing our high-frequency words in phrases and sentences. We then move into word study, where we introduce sorts, analyze spelling features, and work on hearing and manipulating sounds in words. During this small group time, we also do guided reading, where we teach cueing strategies for beginning readers. This is a video clip of my students segmenting and manipulating sounds in words using an activity called Phoneme Pushes. Students are shown a picture of an item, a crib. They are then asked to orally break apart and change certain sounds within a word. Please notice how my students stretch the word in order to hear the individual speech sounds. This particular group is working on beginning blends, so you will hear how the students manipulate sounds within the word by deleting a beginning consonant sound. Echo the word crib.
Crib.
Okay, what sounds do you hear? I want you to push one chip for every sound you hear in the word crib. Crib. K, r, I, b. Good, good. Pushing back. I want you to do it on your own this time. I want to hear you. Ready? Good. Okay, now listen. Our word is crib. What sound do you hear at the beginning? At the beginning? Yep. If the word is crib, and we took away the k, what new word would we have?
Crib.
Yeah, that's what we have. Being able to hear and manipulate individual sounds within words helps students transfer knowledge of how words are put together and apply it to their reading and writing. Once a student can accurately and consistently read and write short vowel words, they move from being a beginning learner to a transitional learner. Now, Dara Libby, second grade teacher at Bethel Manor, will share information about instructional practices for the transitional learner.
As you've seen, literacy learners move through a developmental continuum. Naturally, the focus of my small group instruction might look different than that of groups in first grade or kindergarten classrooms. This said, second graders are typically your transitional learners. Transitional learners recognize many words in their reading. They're beginning to read more fluently, and they work with more complex word patterns. There's a common misconception that word study is just a spelling program. Our word study program incorporates identifying and using patterns within words, and this understanding of patterns is critical in helping students decode unfamiliar words in their reading and apply these patterns when they write. In this video, you'll see me introducing a student sort. I'd like for you to notice how the focus isn't simply on how the words are spelled, but rather how we build a connection between these patterns that can be seen and the sounds that are heard. As you'll see, our instructional focus here is on 3 spelling patterns that make the long A sound. So I have blame has the long A sound with the magic E. Ain't, what do you see? A-I, yep, just like chain. And then I have pay. Chase, what do you see in pay that makes the long A sound?
A and Y.
A and Y, where do you see it?
Falling on the cliff.
At the end of the word, right? It sounds like it's falling, good. Pay. And then last I have brain. I see that brain has an AI in the middle of the word, and I hear the long A sound. Brain, chain. The reading focus in 2nd grade tends to be on building fluency and comprehension, and students are exposed to more complex texts and unfamiliar words. Word study makes unfamiliar words more manageable because they can be decoded quickly based on the patterns that have been taught. Therefore, you can expect fluency and also comprehension to improve. On this video, you'll see a student using blending cards to generalize spelling patterns and apply them when decoding new and even nonsense words. You'll also see me flash nonsense words to the students. I want you to notice how quickly they're able to decode the nonsense words just by applying the word study patterns that they've learned.
Brain. Snail. Rain. Brain. Frail. Train.
Yeah, we're not going to blend them. We're just going to read them quickly, fast as you can. You ready?
Chain. Slurm. Plate. Skein. Fill. Game.
As you can see, the students segment words into parts. This helps them isolate patterns, learn them, and then apply them when they encounter these patterns in unfamiliar words.
In closing, we would like to recognize the hard work of all of our instructional trainers. As you can see, our teachers are committed to providing high-quality reading instruction for all students. As a school division, we are working hard each and every day to create confident, strategic readers. At this time, we welcome any questions from the board.
How long's it been?
Word study is our 4th stage, so we started implementing it this summer with training to our instructional trainers.
Okay, so when would we be able to see some really great data on the changes that's occurring with us?
Well, we've already been monitoring data with our PALS testing, which happens in the fall, in the January, mid-year, and in the spring, at the end of April and May, we'll be doing our end-of-year testing. So we'll be able to see the gains that they make in all the areas of word study.
I'd love to hear. Yeah, it'd be great. Exciting to see that. Is this part of is it a national curriculum, or this is not something within
Word study is an integral part of literacy and instruction nationwide with all research, but the word study we've implemented lately with the training has been really focused on including the word study within the guided small group instruction rather than on their own or self-taught. So we really explicitly are teaching the students to notice the words and sounds that the words make, and really to understand it, to quickly, as they mentioned, decode words.
Yeah, it's really great. Thank you.
I have 2 questions, if I may. Fantastic presentation. As you work in your small groups and you have a class, hypothetically, say, of 20 kids, and I may be off, but then you take time to do small groups, 3 or 4, how does that pan out that you are able to work in all of your kids in the course of, I guess, a day?
I'll take that one. I teach kindergarten, and I have 19 students. I'm very fortunate that I have a paraeducator who works with one group, normally the better readers or the higher readers. I always try to work with the students that struggle a little bit more. And thank you, Mrs. Head. We have a little bit of remediation time after lunch. So our reading block, I spend 30 to 40 minutes with my lowest reading group, 30 minutes with the next reading group, 20 minutes and 20 minutes. And because we have a 35-minute window after lunch and before my students go to resource, anything that I have not done prior to that, I do it during that time. And all the other students are busy doing writing, they're on our iPads, they're on our computers, and they're always in something that we have initiated that those students are ready to do. We use RAS Kids, which is we're very fortunate to have that program as well. And as the students read and test, it advances them when they're ready to be advanced. So it takes 2 people with kindergartners.
Fantastic, thank you. And my last question, you 4 represent 3 of our 10 elementary schools. This is across the school division?
Yes.
You know, I was at Magruder for Read Across America, and as we just toured different rooms, I could see one of the teachers doing that with the students. Fantastic.
And
Thank you.
You answered part of my question already, and that was, is this programmed in such a way that a struggler in class that's just having some concept issues or something with, you know, getting the light bulb to go on, do you find those light bulbs coming on sooner with this program versus what we had in the past?
Absolutely. We do an assessment at the beginning of the school year and also again mid-year and then at the end of the year. So we can meet students where they are.
Good.
We're not teaching them something that they're not ready for. We are able to analyze the data that they give us from our assessment and again, just meet them where they are and give them what they need. And that's fairly individualized and differentiated within each classroom and each group.
And then a lot of interactivity with the students and such.
Yes.
Now, kindergarten, first, second grade, are there components of this that build into third, fourth, fifth? I mean, how's the building blocks of this thing?
Well, we are implementing word study through next year with 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. So they'll be going this summer through some training, focus some word study, but also into vocabulary and context meanings. So yes, we plan to implement this for next year with our 3rd through 5th grade teachers with training through the instructional trainers again model.
So it's scaffolding this right on? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Thank
Fantastic.
you.
Thank you.
Perfect. And I have to reiterate what Ms. Haywood said. I was in the schools doing some reading, and in your school also, and going through the classrooms, I saw just what y'all were showing on the video. So great work. Keep it up, and y'all do great work all the time, so just keep it up.
Thank you.
But thank you.
Thank you.